Hello, everyone. I'm AJ Casey. Today, I am here with Jonathan on the highway. This episode today, we're going to be talking about transportation, how we can improve. What are the things that we're doing to try to improve the city of Evansville? So, yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
If you don't mind, introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. My name is Jonathan Siebeking. I'm the director of the Metropolitan Evansville Transit System, the bus system here in Evansville, Indiana.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions, about eight or so questions, not too much, just have a conversation really.
Okay.
So my first question would be to you. Can you tell us about your role, obviously, and how you got started in the transportation business?
I'm the director of the transit system. It's a position appointed by the mayor of Evansville. We are a public department through the city. I oversee all of our employees and day-to-day operations. We have three different branches at METS. We have our fixed route, which is the buses that you see out on the road. We have our mobility, which is our paratransit system. Those are the smaller vehicles that kind of look like a van that have been kind of changed,
Okay.
that people for mobility issues use. And then we also have METS Micro, which is our new micro transit system, which is an on-demand system that you use an app to get where you want to go, or there is a call center if you don't have a smartphone.
Okay, and the last one you mentioned, I'm guessing, from where I'm from, and obviously bigger city in Chicago, is that kind of like an Uber,
Yep,
essentially?
it's very much like that. The difference is with Uber, they'll pick you up, take you where you want to go. With Micro, they might pick up two or three people in different places as they're dropping you off where you want to go.
Okay.
So it's like a ride share. So we can get up to, I think, 4 passengers in a vehicle. 2 of them are Wave vehicle, which are wheelchair access vehicle. So people with wheelchairs can still get into it, or if they have a mobility issue, wouldn't use a scooter, something like that, they can still get in and ride with us.
Okay, that seems pretty neat.
Yeah.
What does your typical day look like in your field? I know you say you manage, on multiple
Yeah,
branches and stuff.
it's a little bit different
Hmm.
every single day. We have right around 100 employees, around 99 employees in our office. Some are union, some are non-union, some are full-time. Most of them are full-time. We have like 5 part-time people that are like cleaners or our video reviewer. She's a part-time person. And so it's just kind of overseeing that, overseeing our budget, finding out if there are any passenger complaints or if there have been any accidents, and we have to do an accident investigation. All of our vehicles have video and audio on them, so we have to review all of those. If there was an accident or an incident on the bus or at the terminal, we have a terminal downtown. Then we have meetup places on the east side at Lawndale, the north side at Target, the west side at Schnook. So we have to oversee all of that as well.
Okay.
And all of our different bus shelters. So each day, so far today, I've had to meet with our contractor over our bus stop signs. We got new bus stop signs going up. Made an appointment with another sign company for signs in our building. We're doing a renovation at our building right now, so we're dealing with a lot of contractors on that also. So there's a lot of noise at our building and dust and moving furniture. So it's a little bit of everything.
It sounds like you're a busy man, I would say.
It's different.
Yeah, for sure. So how does the system work, and how does it relate to the larger transportation for the community of Evansville?
So with our fixed route services, right now we have 17 different bus routes. We have 21 at our peak, and that was pre-COVID. Since COVID, we've shut down 4 of the routes temporarily. And so what we're doing while those are shut down is we're trying out this micro transit.
Okay.
And that's been big in a lot of communities. A lot of younger people want to use a micro transit. They don't want to ride a big bus. They don't want to wait at a bus stop. They want to get on the minivan, pay extra. It costs 75 cents to ride our regular bus system. At full fare, students pay 50 cents. Some people pay nothing. And then to ride to ride micro, it's $2, flat $2 fee wherever you want to go. And so people will pay that premium. It's a more expensive service for us to provide, but people like that access and that quick, response that you can just get right on your iPhone or whatever and pull it right up and get that ride. And so right now we're having to kind of deal with that balance. Do we want to bring back our A routes, is what we call them, the 4 that are shut down, to make our transit system a half-hour service instead of an hourly service, or do we keep going with METS Micro? for ease for our passengers.
Yeah, and I would just say, so you talked about, the one that's closed right now.
Mhm.
Is this something with, the micro transportation? Is that something that you guys could possibly go like full blown into, or would you want to still keep those other A routes, as you said, open as well?
We had this great grant for $20 million that the Biden administration signed. When President Trump took over, they did the whole Doge thing where they came through and started wiping out. We had this $20 million EPA grant.
Yeah.
And with that grant, it was going to fully fund this Micro and expand it from the entire city. Because right now it takes place mostly on the east side and part of the north side.
Mhm.
But it was going to go citywide all the way out to USI. So people could get from basically almost one end of the county to the next. Because we go up into Warwick County where the hospitals are.
Mhm.
Um, and we also had funding in that for more solar power throughout the city, more sidewalks throughout the city, more bicycles in the city. And we had this thing where there were going to be these mobility hubs where you could ride a bicycle or an e-bike or whatever to this one location. And from there, you could either catch a bus somewhere or a Mets Micro somewhere,
Mhm.
or you could charge your vehicle because it had vehicle chargers in it too. And it was $20 million for 3 years to fund this thing. It was great. Contract was signed, and then Doge took it away.
Wow.
So that has been a struggle because we put in a lot of work for that,
Mhm.
and it was just taken away from us, and there was really nothing that we could do. The new administration came in and said the EPA was just shutting these grants down. They were called change grants.
Wow.
So that has been a bit of a struggle.
Mhm.
We get most of our funding. We are 80% federal. We're a city department, but
Mhm.
we are 80% federally funded.
Okay.
Most of that money goes towards capital things like purchasing buses, purchasing equipment, building bus shelters, things like that. The rest of it is paid for through the state. We get $2 million a year, about 2.3 million from the state,
Mhm.
and that all goes towards operating. And then the majority of our funds still come from the city of Evansville, though about half of our operating comes from the city because of the way our structure is.
Sucks to hear that, that got shut down and
Yeah,
it seemed like it was
it was.
going really well.
It was really. We had the vehicles here and everything. They were on the lot, ready to go. They were all electric vehicles.
Hmm.
They're all Teslas,
Yeah.
and which is ironic that Doge, who was run by the guy that owns Tesla, shut it down, and
Yeah.
when there were 20 Teslas sitting right there.
Yeah. You would
So
think that he would want, his stuff to be used as well,
yeah,
but guess
yeah.
not.
So, nope.
Okay, so like how you guys, keep up with the maintenance of the transit buses? I know you guys said, I think
Mhm.
you said capital
Yep.
funding,
Yep.
with those.
So we have in-house maintenance department.
Hmm.
I actually used to run that before I became the director. I was over maintenance and facilities. So we have 11 guys that work out of there that are either mechanics or utilities. Utilities kind of change the oil, fuel the buses, change tires. Mechanics do the hands-on mechanical work of changing parts, changing engines. We also have to hire a lot of it out.
Hmm.
We have 7 vehicles that are a newer style hybrid called an eGen Flex, and it operates a lot like a car where stop sign it stops, and then the engine takes back off whenever you start
These are
driving.
buses as well.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And so with these eGen Flexes, it's really kind of cool because you can do polygons throughout the city.
Mhm.
And so you can decide where you want the vehicle to be in electric mode or where you want it to be in diesel mode. So if you're going through a neighborhood, you want it to be in E mode so it's not putting that exhaust out.
Mhm.
Or if you're going through a school, you put it in the E mode so it's not going through and getting all that diesel soot everywhere. Um, and so those are a little bit more high tech that are above what our guys can do. So that for that kind of work, we hire out to a company when we need to do repairs on those.
Mhm.
Um, the vehicles are getting more and more expensive, which is kind of hurting us
Mhm.
because the federal funding and the state funding is not increasing with that. It's staying flat while expenses are going up.
Mhm.
Kind of like everything right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything's kind of going up.
Inflation.
So, how much do you think a bus costs to buy?
A bus cost to buy.
Yeah, one of these
I would probably
hybrid electric buses.
I'd probably say maybe like $250.
$900,000. 912,000 is what the last one
Wait,
was.
excuse me?
Yeah, $900,000 per bus.
$900,000.
We got 7 of those. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. They're like a really nice house in Evansville.
Yeah, like I mean
Yeah.
that is like something that I never heard of
Hmm.
EV bus, which
Hmm.
is kind of why I totally undervalued that bus.
Yeah.
But that was totally something that
When I ask that question, you're about right in the ballpark. Everyone thinks around 250 to
yeah.
300,000, but yeah, 912. And that's just for a 35-foot hybrid bus.
Hmm.
If you would go for like a 40-foot bus, that's fully electric, like you might see up in Chicago, some of the bigger ones.
Hmm.
Indianapolis has some. Those are about 1.2 million.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
and so
geez, $1 million
yeah,
for a bus.
and so if you order one today, you won't get it until about 2028 right now is how long it takes for them to be built. They're just so far behind in their builds right now.
Hmm.
But they do have so much technology on them,
Hmm.
and they're constantly communicating. Some of the things that we've added on recently, we've got like media players in our buses that show advertisements or public announcements.
Okay.
Wi-Fi is in most of our buses for free. We have uh, what's called CAD AVL AVA bus tracking. So you
Hmm.
pull it up on your app and you see where your bus is, and you type in where you want to go on the app, and it tells you what bus to take at what time, and also how far you have to walk to
Hmm.
get from point A to point B. And so that technology costs a lot to put on those buses as well.
Hmm.
And it also does for ADA requirements. The bus will tell you where you are. It announces what stop you are at inside the bus and outside of the bus. And it also does like a scrolling marquee that tells you, where you are if you're hearing impaired.
Yeah.
So it'll tell you that. And then it should go live around August is our next best guess.
Hmm.
We've got a new contract with a company called Matawan out of France.
Hmm.
We'll be the first ones that are doing here in America. So we're pretty excited. They've got a few companies up in Canada that they do, and they're really big in Europe, but it's tap and go. So you just tap your phone or you tap your debit card or whatever when you get onto the bus.
Okay.
And that's your fare to get on that way instead of having to use coins or money.
I mean, I guess I can see why it costs so much. It seems like it's kind of providing like almost like a luxury
Mhm.
experience more than like obviously your regular, waiting on, the bus and stuff like that. So I can
Yeah.
definitely understand and see why. That's
Yeah.
that's that's neat. That's a lot for sure though.
Yeah, it's we're really excited about like the tap and go payment to get
Hmm.
on, because it has a new system where it's called fare capping. So if you wanted to buy a bus pass, a lot of our passengers, they if you go to a bigger city like Chicago, St. Louis,
Hmm.
um, Boston, uh, they'll have what you call choice riders, people that choose to ride this system. They've got a car, but they'd rather ride the bus because it's just convenient. It's hard to find parking. It's just convenient. Evansville, most of our riders are dependent on us because they don't have a vehicle
Hmm.
and they are on a very fixed income. So currently we only have like monthly bus passes. You come in and at the beginning of the month, you buy it for April. It's only good in April.
Hmm.
And you have to pay that $60 on April 1 so that you can ride unlimited throughout the month. With this fare capping, you might not have that $60 at the beginning of the month. And so you might end up paying $75 by the end of the month because you didn't have 60 up front and you had to pay each day that you went. And by the end of the month, you paid 75. With this fare capping system, um, it knows who you are by your debit card and the account that you set up with your debit card.
Hmm.
Every time you get on, it logs that. And once you hit that $60 mark,
Hmm.
then you're free for the rest of the month. So you don't get charged more just because you can't afford it up
Yeah.
front.
Wow.
We'll also be able to offer things like a 3-day bus pass or a 7-day bus pass instead of just buying a month. If you don't want to buy that whole month, you can buy multiple different types.
Mm, yeah, I mean, it seems like it's going in the right direction, and
Mhm.
like it can be, really helpful for the community
Mhm.
as well. I'm not a bus rider myself, but I do know people that ride the bus and stuff, and I think it would be very, really convenient, as you said. The biggest thing I think, that 60 mark, that people won't have to keep paying, and
Yeah,
like they get it for free and stuff like that. So I think
yeah,
that's really nice of that
and
feature.
a lot of it is a big part of my job is trying to explain to people what a bus system is.
Hmm.
They always want to know how much money do you make. How much do you make? Well, there's about 3 transit systems in the world that make money,
Hmm.
roughly. Like it's very hard to make money because it's a service. So Tokyo is profitable, Hong Kong is profitable, the London Underground is kind of profitable, but most systems you run at a deficit. So the reason those are profitable, the two in Asia at least, are they build whole communities around their bus systems and their train systems, and then they own that property and they rent it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how they're making their money. They're not making their money off of passengers riding. Um, so for someone to ride our bus, it costs about $9 is what it actually costs to ride the bus. We charge 75 cents.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual total cost, if you look at how much we spend, how many miles we operate, it's roughly about $9 per bus ride.
Mm.
Uh, and it changes each year based on fuel, parts, labor. That changes each year, but it's right around that mark.
Yeah.
But what we try to explain to people is, it's a service. You don't ask how much money the fire department makes. You don't ask how much money the police department makes. They're not supposed to make money. This is supposed to be a service that everyone can use. And also, it keeps vehicles off the road, cuts down on congestion, cuts down on greenhouse gases,
Mm-hmm.
but also makes it just a convenience. And if you go to bigger cities, they really rely on transportation. If you go to Philadelphia, SEPTA is in the news constantly. I mean, that's all people talk about is SEPTA, 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 SEPTA. That's their big bus system and their train system, their L system.
Mm-hmm.
They call it the L, just like Chicago.
Yeah.
If you go up to Chicago, CTA is in the news all the time because people rely on CTA to get around. Whether it's the L or the bus, people rely on it, and it's those choice riders that are actually the ones that are pushing the news all the time. And those companies, you're talking about billions of dollars in their budgets and their deficits. So it's just hard to explain to people. Yes, our operation, it runs about 12. We were about $12 million last year is what it cost to run our system, and we brought in about $6 million either through bus fares, grants, advertising fees, rental. We own our bus terminal downtown. We rent out a space to Greyhound, so we bring in rental fees that way, or convenience fees through ATMs down there, or through Coke machines, stuff like that. But so we brought in about $6 million last year, but it cost about $12 million to run the operation. So it cost the city about $6 million to run it.
Okay.
So
All right. That's pretty neat though. I
yeah.
like it. I like it. Next, I would want to ask, what are some of the biggest challenges, facing the transportation industry right now?
Um, So right now we're locked in at about $3.30 for a gallon of diesel, which is really nice because it's about $6 if you go anywhere else out on the streets. So next year is going to be a bit of a challenge when we renegotiate
Mm-hmm.
our fuel at the end of this year, because we have a contract each year with fuel companies, and so that'll be an interesting challenge because that will change things a lot
Yeah.
on costs. We have a study that is supposed to start any day now
Mm-hmm.
to see about spinning us off from the city and becoming a transit authority.
Okay.
So part of my job will be going out and promoting us and explaining what a transit authority does.
Mm-hmm.
So a system, part of a city government. An authority is its own government entity. It's kind of like a school system or a library system. CTA in Chicago, they're a transit authority. And so what you are at that point is you're your own government entity.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking into the feasibility of joining with Warwick County and with Henderson, Kentucky, so that we would be linked with Henderson and Newburgh, Boonville, all of that. You could ride a bus all the way around in those areas.
Okay.
And then if it's feasible and if the people that make those decisions are interested in it, like they would appoint members to the board that would oversee the transit authority.
Mm-hmm.
So then we would report, instead of to the Board of Public Works, to the city of Evansville, we would report to our own transit authority board.
Okay.
That's a challenge right now to get this study up and running. We're just waiting on approval from the state of Indiana to get it going.
Yep.
And finding out, is it feasible? Is it something people want? Because we're going to have town hall meetings. Is it something people want? And also, how difficult is it to cross state lines? Because apparently that is a bit of a struggle somehow. It was a challenge for me to get us to cross the county line just to go to Newburgh to get into the medical district there.
Yeah.
But now you have to go with the Indiana Department of Transportation, the Kentucky Department of Transportation, and the Federal Department of Transportation. So it's to work all these three things out. And so that's one of the challenges I'm facing, is figuring out how all that works and make sure we do all of our paperwork properly.
Okay. Yeah, that leads into my next question, really. You talked about, building, transportation routes, into Henderson and Boonville and all these other cities. So what will you hope for, or how do you think Mets will look like in the next 10 or 5 to 10 years? What are your plans, and what do you see that being?
The study that I was just talking about is a 1 year study
Hmm.
with, if they find it's feasible for us to join with these other two counties, we would ask them to help us with like about a 5 year roadmap to where you have to divorce yourself from the city of Evansville, the city of Henderson, and Warwick County's current system to kind of combine and marry into a new system,
Hmm.
and finding out what those struggles are or those things are. One thing that's interesting is like our ridership is trending up again. It had been trending down since COVID.
Hmm.
People didn't want to ride, but now the gas prices are skyrocketing again. Ridership starts going up again. So we will be bringing more income in off of that, but our costs are also going to go up.
Hmm.
Um, Everything is changing with parts going up right now. We saw a big boost in labor prices recently. That's kind of flattened out, but now it's everything else is going up. Transportation to get our parts to us is going up. The parts themselves are going up. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge for us in the future. But my hope is, if it is feasible, that we would be able to join up with Newburgh and Henderson and create one type of unit, or even if we don't join up together,
Hmm.
that we find a way to work together, that the governments in each of those three locations can find a way to work together to where you can get a bus to go across Henderson to Evansville, and you can get a bus that goes all the way into, say, Boonville or Newburgh,
Hmm.
so that we can get these people transported. We have a lot of people that go to USI that are wanting to get rides from Newburgh,
Yeah.
but there's just no way to do that right now. Um, and I'm sure there are kids that are wanting to get to UE from Newburgh or somewhere else in Warwick County that would be able to ride that way as well.
Yep. Well, that was a lot of information to retain, and I appreciate it. Like I said, me being a kid from, a big city in Chicago, once having to ride on, the trains and all the different
Mhm.
lines. And it's always nice to, sit down with someone like you and to understand and gain knowledge, where the transportation is heading at and right now in Evansville. So, but I thank you and I appreciate your time. It was great talking to you. And I just want to say sign out to the podcast. And this was The Highway. And I was here with Jonathan as we talked about improving transportation around Evansville. And he gave us a lot of information and key sites on where they're trending. So I hope everything goes well. And always stay safe, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thank you.